she said!
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. So glad to have you guys with us today. Yes. And guess what? It's Taco Tuesday. Yes. Pray the Rosary daily. Thanks for reminding us. I had tacos last night, though, so I slept a little rough. Slept a little rough. Yeah, sometimes you have deep visions and dreams or bad chili. All right, for Razor, wonderful morning in Boise, Idaho. I'm kind of jonesing to go to Idaho here a little bit and need to go get some warm air.
Get some scorcho sauce.
Yeah, we've got that. We're at that part of the season where we have about 45 minutes of nice weather. It's like sweater weather in the morning, sweater weather at night, but then there's like 45 minutes in the afternoon where you start to break a sweat because we crack 73 degrees, which is like a heat wave here. Anyways, Pony Boy, good morning. And I have a great announcement. Pony Boy ran away with the competition.
Yes.
So Pony Boy, I'll be connecting with you later and I'll be rebating you 10% of the total tips. I kind of think we should like just run that as a monthly promotion or something. I don't know. We'll have to think of something great. Maybe we need to get some merch. That might be the impetus for us to finally get some merch. See, today I've got my Bitcoin merch on, my Freedom sweater and my Bitcoin hat. We need to get a Peasant's Perspective hat and Peasant's Perspective
let's
sweater.
do it.
Do that. So we're going to have to use your tips to get the merch. So please feel free to get the tips going, the tip chart going so we can do that. For Razor says, great job, PB3255. Exactly. Pony Boy 3255. Oh, you just abbreviated. What, you couldn't type out the whole Pony Boy?
And what do people want for merch? Hats, shirts? I don't know.
Hats, shirts. We need Space Race Team Player One. We need to get Carlitos on that as quick as we can. Oh, Pony Boy says I don't want anything back. Well, we'll have to. I'll send you a thank you card or something like that.
Not even a sipping chalice?
Not even a sipping chalice? Exactly. Oh, you guys are great. Happy finals, schools. Yeah, Carlito. I thought we were going to get Tiffany to do a Etsy chat page or something with some peasants merch. We'll talk about that. Carlitos, good morning all. So glad you guys are here today. You should start merch mugs and shirts. Yeah, I know. We need to do something. Got to do something. It's fun. We have you guys who join us every single morning, and anybody who's listening after the fact, please consider waking up early and joining us live on Rumble or YouTube, both. We have a decent amount of people that watch the show on X, but we don't get any live feedback, so you can't comment in the chats and stuff like that. So if you would like, jump on over to Rumble and take a check.
We don't know that you're even there.
Yeah, well, we know you're there because we can extrapolate the math on our little live feed thing. Sure. Facebook, F you. I don't even know if we need to stream on Facebook. I think you're sucking up bandwidth. I'm not even sure if we have anything going on over there. I don't even know if they still stream stuff. In fact, I went over there and it looked like they were like turning it all into like shorts or something. I don't know. It's like streaming multi-hour stories or something. Anyways, all right. I know why you guys all show up every single morning. Oh, what I was saying was our audience has actually grown quite a bit. When you total up the daily listeners, I mean, like significantly, Ron.
We're hitting triple digits.
We're triple digits. Yeah, well, we've been in triple digits for a while, but the way I gauge the metrics is on unique views on Rumble, and we've definitely gotten to a point where we consistently are in triple digits unique views, which, hey, listen, this show has had nothing put into it but some lights and cameras and like stuff we've acquired.
Blood, sweat.
Yeah, a lot of blood, sweat. Your wife's tears. Yeah. Not certain she really wants us to be a target anymore. No. So anyways, I really, really love it. And we do this. It is a passion project. We really are passionate about what we're doing here. You just mentioned this morning, watching another podcast where someone was bringing up Venezuela and the elections, and the other host was like, "Are you kidding me? This is incredible." We're like, "Bro, we've been talking about this I went to prison over this nonsense. Like, I wish you would have known 5 years ago. You could have helped keep me out of prison. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Dude, we are so on the cutting edge of freedom on all of this. You know what's going to be hilarious is in like 6 years from now, when Bitcoin's at 750 grand, and you finally have someone like some mainstream host going, so tell me about Bitcoin. It just seems like all the banks now want you to put Bitcoin down for a down payment on the house. And is it too late to get into Bitcoin? And we're going to be over here like, oh my gosh, we thought we missed a boat in 2026.
And you're gonna be like, Taylor's gonna be like, it's never too late. Get in.
It's never too late. Get in. Is it too late to get into Bitcoin? No. Ride the volatility. Ride the roller coaster. No, it is. I really do feel like my whole life, and you know, this is just one of those things. You'd have to walk in my shoes, but I have always been a step ahead of the curve, going back from my mission, coming back to how I conducted myself in business as an entrepreneur in my 20s.
It makes a lot of people think you're crazy.
Yeah. Other people in my generation couldn't buy houses. Like literally a lot of my friends are still renting, and, you know, people slightly younger than me. And I saw a job. I graduated college the first year of the Great Recession. Right. So I had the job market was ripped out from under me. There were no jobs to apply for. So I learned how to be an entrepreneur. I got debanked. So guess what? I know how to live my life without using the financial system. You know, like there's all these little things where I've just been a little step ahead. And like you said, Ron, people think I'm crazy until I'm totally and completely validated. I mean, we were the ones in 2020 banging on the drum about it came from a lab, not from a wet market. And we were one of the few voices out there talking about that. We got banned off Spotify. Our entire library, poof, in one moment.
I don't know about your family, but my family was like, what are you doing? Shut up.
Yeah. And now it's like totally vindicated. Today, Donald Trump vindicates it from the Oval Office. It's like, finally. Yeah. For Razor, Venezuela, the 51st state. Yeah. Well,
Peru.
Buenos dias. I'd move. I'd go. I mean, they're probably going to be really anti-communist for about 20 or 30 years. Same thing with Cuba. Good. When we incorporate Cuba, it's going to be like Miami South, you know, Key West South. It's going to be super capitalist. They're going to hate anything to do with collectivism. It'll be really interesting. Okay, so I know why you came. It's for the simultaneous sip. And all you need is a cup or a mug, a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a vessel of any kind, and fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the parallels, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now, and we're going to enjoy a little bit of Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday.
Okay, we have it in our set. Fire, boom.
What?
He was talking about Space Force. And how it's just like taking out Iran. Speaking of Venezuela,
Breaking tonight, sources confirmed to Fox News' Brett Baer reporting from the Wall Street Journal that forces from the United Arab Emirates are carrying out military strikes inside Iran. Fox is told that the UAE forces are directly engaged inside the Islamic Republic and have been for several days. This comes after Iran launched dozens of missiles and drones at the UAE during the conflict. Yeah, so turns out UAE, they're not suing for peace. They were begging the United States for targeting data. And they've been now doing quite a bit to engage with Iran to try to open up the strait. It's UAE, right? And then you've got Iran up on top. So UAE's like, man, you're starting to hurt business a little bit. So they're getting into it. That's good news. You know, you like to see it when another nation actually takes up the fight, especially someone in the neighborhood. The allegation in the beginning was that, you know, we were going to have to go it alone and boots on the ground. I'm just calling it right now. I don't think we're putting boots on the ground. I think Trump would rather just blockade that strait from now to the end of time than put boots on the ground. So as long as no boys die, at some point the war ends. And we're going to talk about the redirection and reflowing of oil because oil's under $100 a gallon right now. So it's trending downward because other nations are figuring out that Houston's open for business, baby. Gulf of America, fill her up.
Yeah, baby.
On another front, we have a huge important election this year that has massive impact for the Democrats' grasp at power. So, of course, right on schedule.
So new this morning, we are learning that the number of hantavirus cases has increased to as many as 9. But because the incubation period can be up to 8 weeks, according to doctors, the Director General of the World Health Organization says they fully expect to see that number increase even more, although he did reassure that there are steps being taken to try to contain this virus.
At the moment, there is no sign that we are seeing the start of a larger outbreak. But of course, the situation could change. And given the long incubation period of the virus, it's possible we might see more cases in the coming weeks.
Here at home, 18 passengers have returned to the U.S. 1 tested positive, 1 showing symptoms in Georgia, and 16 passengers are currently isolating in Nebraska. They're among the more than 100 people who were on board the recently evacuated MV Hondius ship. And while the hantavirus typically spread from rodents, this strain is believed to have passed from human to human aboard the ship. 3 passengers died since April 11th. The White House says it's monitoring this closely.
We think we're in very good shape. We're very careful. And Nebraska has done a fantastic job. They have a place there that those doctors are unbelievable.
Right now, Georgia, Texas, Virginia, Arizona, California, New York, Maryland, and Nebraska are all monitoring people for potential symptoms. And the World Health Organization advised to these passengers they need to be quarantining or isolating for 42 days. Of course, they can't really enforce that, so it will be up to each country. Again, there's more than 20 countries and how they will all respond to these passengers who are now returning home.
We got 20 countries involved trying to enforce a 42-day quarantine. We're screwed, man. I mean, just get your lockdown prep stuff ready. You know, get your new Xboxes and PlayStations because they're going to be in high demand later this summer.
Load up on toilet paper and diapers.
Toilet paper and diapers. I'm telling you, all signs point to they're going to try to run this. They are going to try to run this op.
And how are we going to respond? I don't know.
Well, okay.
Are you going to put on your face diaper?
There's an institutional response to this where it's like you have to take it seriously. We pulled out of the World Health Organization, but you've got this cruise ship. And as long as the news is talking about it, even Dr. Corey Pierre yesterday was like, I mean, now I'm talking about hantavirus, which means it's working, right? Like we're talking about it, which even if we're talking about it in a dismissive fashion, it gins up legitimacy around what it is and it's spreading.
Right.
This is become a worldwide news story, and it's less than a dozen people. And it's the same people who locked us down, chased us around with needles, told you to close your businesses.
And lied out their asses.
And lied out their behinds. Manipulated data, covered it up. Same exact people. Now, we've got RFK in charge of HHS, and you've got Dr. Mehmet Oz. RFK less so, but Dr. Mehmet Oz, is kind of an institutionalist. And so here they are, and this is one of those things where Donald Trump's inclination is to get out in front of this stuff, to like over-respond when it's tiny so you can fix it quickly. The problem is then that kind of legitimizes the response at all. And that's what I'm concerned here. That's what I'm concerned about. Is instead of quarantining these people in a hotel room somewhere, you've got them in like CDC biolabs. You know, you'd think for how much money the United States spends on all the different things, they could get the freaking reporters a microphone inside the White House.
Yeah.
I cannot believe Donald Trump, the showman, would allow it for clips like this to go out. That, I mean, just we're sitting here going, what is she saying? That makes no sense to me.
Virus, because of all the HHS, funding and staffing cuts.
Well, I think we take care of that, Dot. And you want to answer that?
It's just not true. Jay Bhattacharya is taking this task on. Secretary Kennedy is involved with him. He can speak to perhaps even better than Frank best in the room. But the country's prepared. The CDC is focused on it. And the agency is well aware of the opportunities to actually treat this problem, not just try to prevent it in the future, but treat it if it happens now. Secretary?
Yeah, I mean, we've had CDC teams on it from day one. I was speaking with the University of Nebraska since the second day of the outbreak. I was speaking with Governor Brennan of Nebraska. We had a CDC team at Tenerife. We had airplanes ready to take the patients, the 17 patients, off the vessel. Transport 2 of them went to Atlanta. One of those was asymptomatic. They're in a biocontainment lab in Atlanta. Other 16 are now in Nebraska. One of them.
Okay. Well, they've got him in these biocontainment centers now, and he's got some in Atlanta at the CDC, some in Nebraska, some facility. And
Okay.
I mean, it's one of those. Remember that train wreck in Palestine, Ohio, that contaminated the water and polluted the air, and everybody started getting sick?
Mm-hmm.
Where was the response for that? You know, it's like instead it was like flee the area.
You know,
Good luck.
people die of hantavirus all the time. You know, Gene Hackman's wife / whatever, she died of hantavirus.
Oh, perfect timing too.
So
her husband dies
Right.
and is, I think I got the story right. Her husband dies in the house,
right,
and then she dies shortly afterwards with a hantavirus. So they die of different things.
right.
So, but what a great news story. I saw one of these montage videos where it was like Gene Hackman and all this stuff, and Gene Hackman was in a movie about the hantavirus, and like the whole thing, it just feels wildly
Scripted.
As Ponyboy says here, boycott the sequel. Okay? Boycott the sequel.
Yeah.
Yes, boycott the sequel. I know one thing. I will not be going to any protests in the sequel. Okay, I am not leaving my freaking house to go anywhere.
Aside from weirdness around, Gene Hackman, people do get hantavirus and people do die from it, but I don't recall that we've ever had to cordon off portions of America.
Well, hantavirus is not contagious person
No.
to person, except for this one Andy strain, which
Sure.
is the strain on the boat.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. The same strain that went missing from a lab in Australia. Though we don't know. We don't know where they went. We don't know where they went.
Right. It also stinks of, the first thing I thought was, this is not transmission person to person. My wife goes, no, it's not. It's totally not person to person. And I was like, ooh, gain of function, anybody?
Yes, Ron. Okay, let me pause and make sure I clarify this. There was viruses that went missing in a lab in Australia that included the Andy strain of hantavirus, which is contagious person to person.
Of course.
This is the strain. It's now been confirmed that is on the cruise boat, and it has an longer incubation period, which means now you've got contact tracing that would need to be done, and this thing is now in the wild. So
Okay.
this is not going to stop if it's legitimate. You know what I mean? If like,
Do they got any wet markets on this boat?
this is
I mean,
like, we have the World Cup coming up, and this is going to be the spreader event.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's going to start popping up all over the place.
it'll be a supersonic spreader.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, if this is legitimately the hantavirus going around, not like COVID, where it was like half of it was just a cold and bad testing.
No,
Okay.
hantavirus is deadly serious. It's deadly.
The thing with COVID was everything else mimicked it. The flu,
Yeah.
the cold, like
That's because that's what it was. It was a cold.
it was a cold. Yeah. So with this, it's like, okay, so if this is legitimately a deadly hantavirus
Yeah.
and it's setting up like this, it's
It
like
could be real impact.
COVID was a dry run for the midterms in 2026. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to believe here?
That's, yeah.
Oh, man. So Trump addressed the COVID virus coming out of China versus the lab versus the wet market. And he has an interesting take on this.
Think about the handling of the hantavirus by the U.S.
I think fine.
Do you regret withdrawing from the WHO? Given
No, I'm glad. So we were paying the World Health Organization $500 million a year. Look, it's a lot of money, but in the overall scope, it's not that much, but it's a lot of money. And we weren't being treated well, and they were making the wrong diagnoses. I was the one that said it came from Wuhan. They didn't say that. They refused to say that because they were totally owned by China. So I was saying it came from Wuhan. They didn't want to say that. Now it's turned out, I think it's been conclusive that it came from Wuhan. But I said that on the first day because I saw satellite pictures with body bags all over Wuhan, literally all over Wuhan. So I said that they lied to me or they didn't know. So we were paying for, let's say, 350 million people. We were paying $500 million a year to the World Health Organization. That's a lot of money. What the hell are they going to do with that kind of money? China is paying $39 million a year for 1.4 billion people. So I said, you got your story wrong because we should be paying about $10 million, not $500 million. And they were willing to negotiate, but it was so popular when I pulled out. They gave us all wrong information on COVID. They were totally wrong. And I looked today and I saw the same doctor that was there. He's a good politician. I don't know how the hell he kept his job, but he was there telling us about this. Now, the one thing with this one is that it's much harder to catch. And we've had it for a long, it's been around for a long time. People are very familiar with it. So, I hope it's fine. All I can do is everything that a president can do, which is actually somewhat limited. But it seems like it is not easy to spread. In fact, it's in certain ways very hard to spread. We've lived with it for years, many years, and we think we're in very good shape. We're very careful. And Nebraska has done a fantastic job. They have a place there that those doctors are unbelievable.
It's got to be so hard for the people that have to stand behind them. They're there for a specific thing that's happening, and then they got to stand there and do I want to stand here while he's going off on COVID? Like Katie Britt is back there just trying to maintain her composure the whole time. Huh?
Is that the chick with the permagrin?
Yeah, she's the senator from Alabama, right here, the purple dress, which matches Donald Trump's tie very well. You wonder if they coordinated on this one. Anyways. She's the one who gave the Republican response to the State of the Union when Biden had the red wall behind him and everything. And I was like, oh, there were some parts that were good, but I was just like, weak. So I don't want to talk about Hantavirus.
I know. Let's just move on.
It's, when he says we've lived it for a long time, that's the assumption that it's just coming off the rat droppings, and it's that to human and no human to human spread. When you introduce the concept of gain of function, that it could become more transmissible human to human, all of a sudden it's just like Fox News just has to run one story saying this strain is more viral because XYZ, or it proves that it's very contagious. And all of a sudden, the mind virus contagion will step in, and we're going to have our governor and our health director here in Washington telling us to lock down. And that's going to be the reason why Seattle's dying and people are fleeing the state, not because of their policies.
Sometime between now and 8 weeks, you're going to get a news flash. You're going to go, dong, dong. Guess what? Everybody stay in your house. What?
Yeah, exactly. Boycott the sequel. Boycott the sequel. All right, President Trump just called for Barack Hussein Obama to be arrested. So last night, for the 78th time. So last night, Donald Trump reposted on his Truth Social a cat turd post, arrest Obama the traitor, and boom, 20 CIA and FBI agents dropped a political nuke on Obama by confirming that Barack Obama and a former CIA director fabricated the Russia hoax, which was locked away in a CIA vault for nearly a decade to discredit President Trump's election by manipulating intelligence. And that came from Ban Trump Army.
Okay.
And Donald Trump reposted those. So it's got to be totally legit, right?
Sure.
He also reposted this. Actually, Donald Trump reposting some of these accounts like that really does popularize them. All right. I wish he would retweet our show. Repost our show. All right. So this is also one he reposted. This is coming from You Wish You Were For Us or US. I don't know. They never, quote, applied the law in a fair and equal way, quote, did they? When the hell are they going to indict her at Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche? We see Comey. He got arrested. We don't see Brennan. We don't see Hillary. We don't see Obama. It's time we see some justice. And then Donald Trump reposted this, okay, and basically said, when the hell are you going to indict her, Todd Blanche? Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that Todd Blanche is a little bit more attentive to Donald Trump's wants and desires than Pam Bondi was.
Yeah, I get that impression.
Pam Bondi's been elected, and she's kind of, I've got my own power base. Whereas Todd Blanche completely serves at the will of the president. In fact, he was literally paid by the hour by the president prior to coming into government. So then this post from Shelley2021, how much evidence of treason does the Justice Department need before making some arrests? Do better, DOJ at Todd Blanche. To which Donald Trump posted, they are working hard, apostrophe. Oh, man. Could be coming.
I saw General Flynn post. It was very similar to this.
Yeah,
Like,
General Flynn's always calling for hell to be raised on these people. I mean,
do something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. Now, while Donald Trump is reposting accounts you've never heard of, calling for justice and to arrest the traitor Obama, the reason that isn't more popular is because of that fact. Donald Trump is retweeting posts of people you've never heard of. However, you've got MS Now, who has a constituency, a audience that is really DC centric. A lot of people in DC watch DC Now. This is the news channel for the kind of country club golf people, and they kind of have that hoity-toity feel. Okay, so John Brennan is a contributor over there, and he, of course, went on MS Now yesterday to respond to Donald Trump, and he reveals something that should be very concerning to all of us.
Trump says these people are dirty. Todd Blanche says we're lucky to have Trump involved in this. Kash Patel says I have a backbone into the Oval Office. He has succeeded largely in turning DOJ and the FBI into political arms of his political operation. What still exists in the system to slow that down?
I think, as Liz mentioned, there's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, the Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, the ones who are refusing to follow politically motivated prosecutions, those who are refusing to support any type of political activities on the part of the Trump administration that are inconsistent with the authorities, the responsibilities of the intelligence community, law enforcement community, and Department of Justice. So we have to rely on these individuals to stand up to their professional responsibilities, and also to the courts, to the judges, to those judges who in fact took an oath of allegiance to the law, not to a political party, not to a person. And, I'd like to think that there are still some members of Congress. Certainly, I'm looking for the Republicans who at one point had spoken out against Donald Trump and had spoken in support of the law, but they seem to have just totally caved. And I think, as has been said, what has happened to our institutions is really going to have longstanding damage to these institutions, to our system of justice.
So basically, Brennan is saying there that there is a active resistance within the DOJ and the judiciary. They took an oath to the law. They took an oath to the law, Ron. And the law says, don't violate and arrest lawbreakers. What do we got for us? We got coffee?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Make sure I hit the right button. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits hard, the smooth, medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to strip your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Woo!
Awesome. We got to do more ads. So Brennan gets on and says there's resistance within the DOJ and the judiciary who don't want to participate in these allegedly political prosecutions. Where were these people the last 10 years to not want to participate in political prosecutions, which seemed to be everything the DOJ was doing all those years. One of the things that, in a fairness to tip our hat to Kash Patel, the FBI has clearly been reoriented and redirected to go after regular crime. The murder rate across the country is the lowest it's been in 30, 40, 50 years. Overall crime rate has dropped dramatically. Cartel crime rate has dropped dramatically. I mean, it's actually pretty impressive, the redirection into fighting normal everyday crime. So that's good. Yeah. It also begs to question, what the have these other guys been doing all these years?
Wow.
Right?
They were
clearly
kind of,
spending time spying on Congress, putting Taylor John Atakis in prison, completely total waste of resources. But at the same time, it's like, we don't really believe that they've actually cleaned house of the actors who were willing to go and spend their time going after politicians and normal everyday Americans instead of going after the top 10 most wanted list. Why are those still people employed? Or are they just all completely order takers? And what is John Brennan referring to? Who are these political actors that are still hanging around? Can Donald Trump?
Are they real? Or are they just in his imagination?
Or are they just in his imagination? I don't know. But one thing that did happen yesterday was the Senate finally confirmed another 100 judges to the bench. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, 100 judges, that's pretty significant. Why did it take almost 2 years? Do you know how many recess appointments Donald Trump has gotten? 0. He's the first president in the history of ever to have 0 recess appointments. That means Leader Thune is obstructing Trump. Like from a historical standpoint, you've taken vacations and you've held the Senate in session with a few skeleton crew hanging around, opening up the session for 1 minute and gaveling it closed instead of at least allowing Trump a 2-week time frame to sneak in Todd Blanche's attorney general or something like that.
Right.
That's the obstruction that John Brennan is talking about. And there's other obstruction too. Yesterday we mentioned Thomas Massey. Well, this morning when I woke up, there was an absolute bombshell of a deposition against Thomas Massey. So this woman right here is Cynthia. Oh, shoot. No, I don't have her name. Her name is Cynthia Wood. And after Thomas Massey, a few weeks after Thomas Massey's first wife passed away, they engaged in a relationship.
Okay.
And it was a romance. She started to travel to DC. They took a trip to South Africa together.
Right.
He was constantly, come be with me, come be with me, come be with me. At some point, he asked her to be involved in sexual degeneracy. And she didn't want to do that. That was too much for her. Strike one.
Okay.
So here's Thomas Massey talking about Epstein and the list and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, your house ain't in order. Okay. In the process of all of this, because he wanted her, she's from Florida, he wanted her to be closer to him. He got her a job at Victoria Sparks' office.
Okay.
Who's Victoria Sparks? She's a representative out of Indiana who Thomas Massey often teams up with to go into SCIFs and look at information and stuff like that. Again, I'm super conflicted with Thomas Massey because clearly, he reveals things that are deep state oriented that kind of make you go, huh? But then it makes me wonder, is he an op? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, is he an op? Is that stuff not happening, but he gens up all this libertarian hate for 702 and stuff like that? I don't know. So anyways, after he asked her to get involved in some level of degeneracy, she says, no, that's not going to work out for me, and distances herself from him. Well, Victoria Sparks apparently is involved in some of this degeneracy, and she criticizes Cynthia for things like going to church. And so she ultimately fires Cynthia. So Cynthia does what you do, and she goes to file an official complaint for retaliatory termination.
Okay.
So it's all on the record. She provides evidence and all the corresponding data and stuff like that. So at this point, you can kind of take it as, hey, she's legitimately brought a claim. Okay. Now, Cynthia Sparks. So when this happens, Thomas Massey calls her up and offers her $5,000 cash. And that's where the clip we're going to play picks up. He offers her $5,000 cash from his cow money.
Okay.
Forms or identify any evidence or identify witnesses?
Yeah,
Did you comply with all those requirements?
I did.
And And in the course of filling out those documents, did you by any chance list Thomas Massey as a potential witness?
I did, yes.
How did he react to that?
Well, out of courtesy, when I started the process, I called him up to let him know. And he was very angry. And he said, you're just one person, that you can't make a difference, that you need to just walk away. And then he had $5,000 that he said that he would give me if I would just walk away. I didn't take it, though.
Did he offer you a check?
No, he has cash. So it's part of his cow money, right? It's his non-traceable money.
Wait a minute. You said it's part of his cow money?
Yeah, because he's got cows. He sells cows and he gets cash and he keeps it kind of.
Yeah. He doesn't report it?
I got to say, there's something that's really disturbing about talking about selling cows, farmer to farmer at a local level, that it's kind of being said he has drug money.
Right.
It's so disturbing.
He's got cow money.
that becomes a part of the scandal, right? Like, you mean he sold fresh chicken eggs to his neighbors?
What?
And didn't report the cash earnings?
What?
It's like, you guys, you do make me want to be libertarian. You know what I mean? Like if a guy can't sell his cows for cash and it not be a scandal, like, where have we devolved as a country? But nonetheless, let's continue on.
No.
No.
Yeah, no.
So how did he wouldn't take the money and walk away?
Well, he was very angry at that conversation.
All right. Have you pursued both the ethics complaint and the claim under the Employee Act despite his efforts?
I did. Yes, I did.
Are either or both of them still pending?
Yes.
Are the things you told me about your complaints to both the ethics committee and for the retaliatory firing contained in those documents that you filed with the government?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that when Thomas Massey handed you or offered you $5,000 in cash that you were the main witness in a federal legal proceeding seeking a remedy for what you believe was an injustice?
Yes.
Has there been any resolution of either one of those proceedings to date?
No.
Have they made any efforts to resolve this with you?
Yes. So I have an offer. It's at the House for approval, but settlement.
You have an offer of what?
Settlement for $60,000 to settle the case and for the retaliatory discharge and the Congressional Accountability Act violation with the Office of Victoria Sparks. But if I do that, then I have to sign an NDA, and so I can't do that.
She was like on a school board or a county council, and her whole thing was transparency and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying, listen, I can't do it. I can't sign an NDA that then dissolves accountability from Victoria Sparks and Thomas Massey for what they've done in this whole thing. I mean, just the firing alone, let alone the degeneracy, that's a side story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it yet?
I mean, I do.
So here you've got MTG, who, by the way, has now moved out of the country to Costa Rica. She sold her house in Rome, Georgia, and now lives in Costa Rica in a $5 million mansion with her new husband or whatever. Okay.
All right.
Man, that was a good 5 years in Congress. What a run. Right? You've got Thomas Massey, who by all apparent, MIT engineer, homestead, great life, runs for Congress, feels corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got a settlement, an NDA, a payoff. Victoria Sparks from Indiana. She's a Ukrainian immigrant. Now she's got a payoff. Nancy Mace, who's embroiled in her own congressional scandals, is leading the charge for exposing the people who take payoffs but Nancy Mace and Thomas Massey and Luna and Boebert are all kind of barf. Now, this John Doyle, who this expose he did on Massey was great. And, it's hard. I don't want to come out hard. Again, I'm conflicted with Massey. I really appreciate some of the exposure of some of the stuff he's done centered around January 6th because no one else is doing it. Right. So on one hand, I'm like, yeah, sure. Engage in degenerate acts. Please expose the J6 fraud. I don't know. What am I supposed to do here? Someone's got to go do it. Okay. Yeah. But at the same time, again, it comes down to the principles thing. So here's John Doyle talking about when Donald Trump posted that video that at the very little end of the video, it played a new video, which depicted Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. Do you remember this?
Yes.
It was literally somebody recorded a reel and the next reel was a different video. So it's like a treason video, arrest Barack Obama, the traitor. And then the video's over. It was monkeys. So when that happened, again, when you see people violate their core tenets and their core principles, we can forgive Massey. We cannot forgive Massey for being an open border person and stuff like that. But we can understand it. We can understand you're so libertarian and you're so strong on your principles that you're like, listen, I don't want gun control for anybody, even if it means trans people having guns. I don't want government enforcement of XYZ, even if that means having the open border. I want free trade, free trade, free trade. I don't want tariffs over there. I don't want tariffs over here. It denies reality, right? It denies reality when we have open borders and no tariffs and other countries do it because you can't control the policies of other countries. So it denies reality. But at least we understand your principled stance. And just like a communist, a libertarian can say, well, the whole world didn't go libertarian, so we'll never know if it actually works. You know what I'm saying? So here's John Doyle just again pointing out how Thomas Massey totally missed the mark here.
If you recall a few months ago in February, President Trump posted a video on Truth Social that included a crude Lion King animation featuring prominent Democrat politicians as various African safari animals. Thomas Massey was later invited onto CNN where he gave some of his thoughts. Take a look.
But first, I want to get your reaction to the news about how the president then deleted this racist video depicting the Obama as apes. He has refused to apologize. Do you think he should apologize to the Obamas?
He should absolutely apologize. He's gone too far. I mean, he's attacked my wife recently online, and I do think there are limits. If for a while it's kind of funny, but once you pass certain guardrails, like attacking a man's spouse or getting into racist tropes, I think it's somebody at the White House, maybe Susie Wiles, needs to go to the president and just ask him for his phone and maybe ask him just to show him the tweet before he sends it out.
Literally the gayest thing I've ever seen in my life. If you're a libertarian and you unironically use the word racist, you unironically use the phrase racist tropes, you need to have your libertarian card taken from you and lowered into the wood chipper. We need to pause all the Epstein guys. Hold on. Let me cut in here real quick and take your libertarian card and throw it into the wood chipper. Libertarians, like the true libertarians, the real libertarians, these are the people who would do apologetics about why the Civil Rights Act needs to be repealed. These are the people who would make arguments saying, yeah, it is racist. And actually, I have a right to be racist. You're not entitled to do business with me. You're not entitled to have proximity to me or access to me economically. Like, these are the kinds of libertarians that, I grew up kind of reading and listening to. And now you've got this. It's an abomination. It's an embarrassment. The true libertarians who have all pretty much gravitated to MAGA because they decided they would actually like to win once things started getting a little tumultuous in the Obama era. The real libertarians would never go on CNN and talk about racist tropes going too far. Months ago in February.
I actually really like that. Like, it is one of those wait, hold on a second. You're a libertarian when it comes to allowing trans to have guns with mental illness, but when it comes to a microsecond of a clip at the end of a very impactful video, that's just gone too far. I think that was such a good observation there. Oh, man. Okay, so here is John Fetterman on with Bill Maher, who Donald Trump has encouraged us not to promote Bill Maher. He still has little TDS, although he's trying. And one of the things John Fetterman John Fetterman talks about here is this: Trump is always pushing the envelope, right? And the TDS infected left and the rhino Republicans, the masses of the world that take that moment to go, he's just gone too far. He has to stop. He has to stop. Trump doesn't slow down long enough for you guys to land a punch. Okay. He just is moving, and he'll do a jab, and right where the rim of your counter swing, he's over here jabbing again and jabbing again. He doesn't slow down enough for you guys to land a punch. And so what happens is we have the worst thing that, do you remember Rob Reiner when he died, when his son killed him? Yeah. And you had people coming out, he's gone too far. I'll never vote for him. Never, ever again. Biggest news that, have we talked about it? Does anybody care? No. Everything that Trump does, it's like the biggest thing. And then it's like,
it's only the biggest thing for 10 minutes.
I saw this meme where it was like first time Trump voters and they're on a roller coaster. Holding on for dear life. And it was third time Trump voters that are like, wee. Yeah. So here's John Fetterman and Bill Maher talking about that.
We did the move in Venezuela, which has, look, that one you have to say worked pretty good.
Yeah, well, remember, people lost their shit over Venezuela.
Yeah.
No one talks about Venezuela anymore. And that's my point.
No.
People also, I'm sorry, let me say this, that, we're not talking about Gaza anymore. And people forgot, we, ended the Gaza war, brought everyone back home as well, too. And this idea that what is the freak out of the day? We're not talking about these things. We've all moved on. And I guarantee by the time this drops, there will be one or two more that, part of this conversation.
But Venezuela was, when it does come up in conversation, it usually comes up now when people say, and this could be true, they say, well, Trump saw how well Venezuela worked. He thought he could do it in Iran. Yeah, maybe that affected his thinking somewhat. Iran is not Venezuela, okay? Barzini is not Tartaglia. Sorry. It's going to be a lot harder. But Venezuela kind of worked. Nobody died on our side. It was very clean. The idea in that country where you could get rid of this really bad dictator and bring in somebody who wasn't from the opposition exactly, but someone who was like, okay, you know what? That guy was kind of an asshole. Let's work together. That's a great plan, as opposed to
Joe Biden put 25 big stacks on him. In January, before he left the office, he put a $25 million bounty on
really?
it. Yes, you can verify that, and it's like essentially that's like some hitman. There's 25 million for you.
Yeah.
So we did it in a way, and now we have him. He's going to be on trial in public, held accountable for the atrocities that he committed against his nation.
Right.
And that's why I said, why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing. And the bank shot off of Venezuela was Cuba.
Yeah.
Because Cuba is propped up a lot by Venezuela. They're very close. In fact, it's
all interconnected.
All of Madero's security guard were Cubans. Obviously, they didn't do so good. But Cuba needs the Venezuelan oil. So, yes, Cuba is starving now for oil, and we're doing that to them.
Fetterman is like a breath of fresh air. He's still a super Democrat. He's not going to switch parties. And frankly, he's probably going to lose his seat next year or in 2 years when he runs again, because the Democrats can't stand him because he says stuff like that. Don't you know that Trump can't be right about anything? And Fetterman's like, Trump's not making bad moves. He's winning. Like, what's wrong with him winning? He's winning for the country. Biden put a hit out on Maduro and Trump took him up on the offer. Why are you guys upset?
Can Fetterman just change parties at this point and stay in, or no?
He could, except he's a communist.
Oh,
that's the problem. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he's a communist.
Okay.
He probably could change parties and be accepted with open arms, and then we'd be all upset with him because he'd drag our party right. The Republicans do not need to work with the left, right? If Fetterman wants to come over, he's going to have to abandon some beliefs. Like you can go all the way to the abortion issues. You can go to some of his other collectivist issues and things. Like, he's got some really far left viewpoints, but he's what I would describe as the old traditional blue dog Democrat that got sucked into the radical left. Okay. And every now and then he identifies, oh, that radical left thing, I don't like that. I'm not for that. And every now and then he'll point one of those things out, but for the most part, he goes along to get along in his party. All right. Okay, so this is Mark Kelly, and remember, he's part of the Seditious Six.
Yeah.
When we were on break, I was trying to find the old debate between Mark Kelly and I can't remember her name right now, but she was an Arizona senator that ran against him. And Mark Kelly, when he went to the space station, because if you remember, he was an astronaut, he took with him a Chinese Communist Party flag, like a CCP flag. And he said, are you questioning my loyalty to America? And who was running against him says, I'm not questioning your loyalty. I'm questioning your judgment. Right? Like, why would you do that? And Mark Kelly had gone and done training in China and stuff like that. And he also had a significant interest in the hot air balloon company that is the one that had that hot air balloon, spy balloon that floated across the United States that everybody watched. And they're like, so is anybody
shoot it down?
Shoot it down after it collects all the data. Right. Stupid, man. Unbelievable. And so Mark Kelly got out. He went into a classified briefing with the Pentagon and then came out and did a press conference and let the world know what our stockpile situation looked like.
Every single day that the Trump administration takes on Mark Kelly is a good day for the Kelly potential presidential campaign. He goes up in stock, not just in money, but also people paying attention to this.
Well, I'm glad we have an admission of what's going on here. Mark Kelly's partisan interests are what's most important. This man is a United States senator. He's getting classified briefings from the Pentagon, and then he goes on television and tells our enemies around the world in great specificity which weapon systems are depleted, which need to be restocked. Setting aside the legal issues, which I'm with Molly, I'm not a lawyer either, and I don't know what the future of that holds. Did he ever stop to ask himself, what is in the best interests of the United States of America and not just my own political future? Because it's obvious that he did not. A sitting senator going on television and telegraphing to our enemies and our threats around the world what we may or may not have, it's extraordinarily irresponsible. But let's not let that get in the way of a presidential campaign.
Well, I mean, Scott, but to Molly's point, could you not say, I mean, if Hegseth was legitimately most interested in national security, he easily could have lost this investigation and not said anything about it, right?
Well, I mean, it's already out in the open when Kelly goes on television.
Right, but he's now elevated what Kelly said, right?
I think everybody heard it. It was on.
And if the defense secretary is in fact acknowledging and saying, well, he revealed classified information here, he is confirming publicly what Molly said he is doing.
So the options here would be to ignore it or to lie about it?
No, the option would be to investigate and not tell the press.
Look.
Wait. There's another group that does that. There's another party that does that. No transparency. Investigate it. Don't tell the press. But go hit up the politician and be like, hey, if you play ball, this could go away. But when you tell the press, now you're accountable to the investigation. Do you get it? Right? Transparency is the solution here. If you announce that you're doing an investigation, then at least the people can follow up. When you keep it completely in the dark, I understand not releasing details of the investigation, but when you keep it completely in the dark, when the crime was committed in the open, it first of all makes it seem like nobody's doing anything about it.
Yes.
And second of all, it provides a really, really easy opportunity for the investigators to blackmail the investigated.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we can keep it quiet if you play ball, if you do XYZ.
Right? I mean, look, Mark Kelly went on television and said, I got a classified briefing and here's what I was told.
I'm just saying it sounds like they're both doing the same thing, right? Everyone's playing politics here. I mean, if you're going to buy into your argument that, hey, this is a senator, right, who's running for president and that's what we're acknowledging he's doing, like, is Hegseth not doing the same thing?
Look, this all started because a senator received classified information and chose to disclose it for the good of his own partisan interests, not for the good of the country. I don't know that there's any other blame to be laid here.
That seems clear to me. Scott Jennings makes a lot of sense. He's kind of arguing, so the solution is to lie and then lie some more? It reminds me of when John Kirikow went on the other ex-CIA agent's name, and he's like, I went to prison because the CIA illegally murdered people. And the guy's like, no, you went to prison for revealing that the CIA illegally. And it was like,
what?
Did you just hear the words that came out of your mouth?
Yeah.
You went to prison because the CIA broke the law and you exposed them. I exposed a lawbreaker? Yeah, you can't do that. It's like, what? What? So Pony Boy had mentioned earlier, which is the only reason I didn't read it, Arcadia mayor, so Arcadia, California, Elin Wang admits acting as a Chinese spy. A mayor of a California city was a Chinese spy, Ron. What are the odds? Mark Kelly, a sitting U.S. senator, took a Chinese flag with him to space. Allegedly, space. I know NASA buys 99.1% of the world's helium. It makes you wonder. I know. Maybe he took it to space. Maybe he took it to Moscow and hang around for a couple months. Either way, he took a Chinese flag with him wherever he went. But Arcadia Mayor Ellen Wang admits to acting as a Chinese spy, running a fake news website with her ex-lover in shocking plea deal. This is from New York Post, Joe Bum, and Ben Chapman. A California mayor acting as an illegal foreign agent of China, resigning from her position in a shocking federal plea deal unsealed Monday. So she just took the plea deal and then resigned from office. Ellen Wang agreed with prosecutors that she worked with the People's Republic of China to boost propaganda with a fake news website on U.S. soil between 2020 and 2022. What was going on in 2020 to 2022?
I don't know.
COVID? Interesting. She was elected to the city council in Arcadia. City council was a spy, was a Chinese People's Republic of China operative on the city council and eventually became mayor. A city where San Gabriel Valley within LA County in November 2022. Wang, 58, worked with her then fiance, Yaoning Mike Sun, on a website called the U.S. News Center, which claimed to be a news source for Chinese Americans, according to court documents. But in reality, the pair were carrying out Beijing's orders through the site. Wang and Sun executed directives from the Chinese government, posted propaganda designed to boost China, all while reporting back to their masters with screenshots showing how many people viewed the stories according to the plea agreement. In one case, Wang's spy master ordered her to post pre-written news articles, including a PRC official written essay in the Los Angeles Times, the plea deal states. So they got it published in the Los Angeles Times. You know, a lot of people think those newspapers are pretty legitimate, you know, like there's some type of importance and weight to put to the New York Times, Seattle Times, New York Times, right? There is no genocide in Xinjiang. There is no such thing as forced labor or in any production activity, including cotton production. Spreading such a rumor is to defame China, destroy Xinjiang's safety and stability, wrote Wang's master, according to the plea agreement. Wang complied with her handler and wrote back, "Thank you so fast. Thank you, everyone." In another case, Wang's PRC boss commended her on her page views received when a certain piece of propaganda. Wang wrote back, "Thank you, leader." Wang pleaded guilty to the federal charge in her arraignment in downtown Los Angeles on Monday. She faces a maximum of 10 years in prison. LA's top federal prosecutor, Bill Iselel, said that this is not the first time China had been caught trying to exert its influence on the United States.
And I'm guessing that China thinks that this is an acceptable loss.
Of course. But meanwhile, I was in prison with John Rowe, who's serving a 10-year sentence for basically being entrapped by the government as a Russian spy. But yet you have real spies like this. Same sentence, by the way, 10 years. Same time frame, 10 years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Miss Wing is just the latest to act as an agent for the PRC, and it should terrify Americans. Yes, it should, that she was able to rise to the highest levels of local office in her city. You should look at your local officers with great suspicion. Karen Bass, Cuba operative, which means China operative because China runs the communist shit show around the world. This Wang, city council in Arcadia, eventually mayor, spy, running fake news, writes a letter back to a Chinese Communist Party. "Thank you, leader." Wait, I thought your boss were the people of Arcadia. Makes you also question the integrity of the election to get there in the first place, doesn't it? Makes you wonder about that Joe Biden guy, you know, the one whose son and John Kerry's son-in-law took $1.5 billion from China. Makes you kind of really wonder about some of that stuff, doesn't it? Under the plea agreement, Wang admitted she acted under the control of the Chinese officials to promote propaganda in the U.S. So, yeah, big deal. big deal there. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is about to touch down in China this week. He should be there tomorrow. And Doug Burgum says Donald Trump is coming as a strong man this time. He's got the upper hand.
Well, yeah, he buys 80% of Iran's oil, and China is the most energy-dependent country in the world, just the opposite of the U.S., which is the most energy-dominant country in the world. China importing 11.5 million barrels of oil a day just to keep their economy going, and their strategic stockpile is dwindling. And their economy is faltering. They're super dependent on imported energy, and China also imports calories every day. They don't raise enough food to feed everybody in that country. So President Trump is going in we've got energy security and food security in America. China has neither of those things. He's in a great position in negotiations.
So with the president,
there's Winnie the Pooh shaking hands with. Oh, dang it! Now we're going to be shadow banned. They're not supposed to call our fearless chairman Xi Winnie the Pooh. Do you remember after Biden lost the election or won the election? I'm sorry, I get confused with how that 2020. Do you remember after Biden won/lost the election, and we started referring to Chairman Xi as the what do we call him? Chairman Xi is beautiful and bright or something like that. I started referring to Chairman Xi as
our beautiful leader or something.
Yeah, in fact. In my criminal complaint from the DOJ against me, they included one of those captions where I said, our Chairman Xi is wonderful and great or something like that. And it was referring to censorship. It made it in the charging documents. I was like, dude, the irony of the FBI. They had to read that, and I don't know what they were thinking. It was parody at the highest level. So Donald Trump is heading to China, where he's got a pretty good position. China has now become food dependent on the U.S., and for the most part, we've kind of cut off their ability to buy new farmland. They still own a lot of farmland around here, which, of course, everything China does is dual use. Everything China does is dual use.
Well,
they get to
if
farm
it's got
it. They
good
also
proximity.
They also get to spy on our bases.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. China owns quite a bit of farmland around Fort Lewis McChord and up in the Bellingham area next to some of our military installations. And so, they got the dual use going on. But they're dependent on us for food. Now they've been dependent on Iran for oil, except that has kind of changed a little bit. So Donald Trump was addressing this situation with the oil, and it has to do with countries around the world have just decided to completely ditch the Strait of Hormuz. Even if it opened up, it may never recover to the level of oil that was being produced at one point.
We've become very big on the filling station. We're a big filling station. And what's happening is, when people heard about losing Hormuz, they said, it's genius. They're finding other locations. And some of those people, I spoke to them, companies and countries, some of those people are going to continue to go to Texas. They like it better. They said it's an extra 45 minutes. They like it better. And it's sort of amazing, it found its way. So a lot of people thought oil would go to $250, $300. It's not. I mean, today it's at less than 100. Think of that. Now, when this ends, you're going to see it drop like a rock.
How long are you?
Till it's appropriate. We've become very big on the filling station. We're a big filling station.
That's it.
And so the U.S. has become the filling station, Ron. Now, I always think of the filling station in downtown Kington. Shout out to them. It's a local bar and grill. But apparently the United States has become the filling station. And I think that is pretty significant. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and a handful of other countries that were getting oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, coming not from Iran necessarily, but from Saudi Arabia and even Iraq. Kuwait is tucked up in there. I think that them redirecting their oil purchases to the United States is a net good for America, for sure.
Yeah.
John Ataka says, I was part of a business deal with the #1 education company in Taiwan, and they were 50% owned by China. It was clear that China was not in the negotiations. They were part of the deal.
Huh.
Yeah. No, and anything China owns is CCP oriented. And, we've become dependent on them for a lot of stuff. Some rare earth mineral production, a lot of our computer supplies and things like that. So
McDonald's
Donald Trump,
toys.
one of the first orders of business, I heard, I think it was Cynthia Hughes was talking about the significance of the 4 years that Trump was out of office. that if we'd had back-to-back Donald Trump, it would have been more fighting the deep state. It would have been more of kind of the same old, same old. He would have never really affected a lot of things. I mean, he wanted to, but because he went 4 years in the wilderness, obviously he was persecuted, indicted. They tried to keep him from coming back. But that 4 years is where they were able to step back and make very strategic plans to really put the chessboard out after having seen it up close and personal as the president. What do those backroom meetings look like with Putin? What are his motivations? What do those negotiations with Chairman Xi in private look like? What are their motivations? There's one thing when you're constantly surrounded by intel officers and pundits and, top bureaucrats that have their own vested interests. But what is it when you sit down with a world leader man to man and you negotiate things of massive consequence, who then have to turn around and answer to their political, home front? Like, that's one of the things you hear about. Like, Chairman Xi is up against hardliners and softliners. Putin has hardliners and softliners in the party, and he's got to try to balance the domestic politics. But what is it that he really wants man to man? What is he willing to concede? There's a movie, or it's a show on Netflix called House of Cards. And there's a scene in there where the fictional leader of Russia, who's a Putin-like caricature, meets with, I honestly can't remember if he meets with Carrie Underwood or Frank Underwood. I think it might be Carrie Underwood in a stairwell in some White House meeting, because there's no cameras, no security. It's like they can meet in a stairwell. And in the story, it's over Syria. And the Putin character goes, let's be good imperialists like we really are, and let's carve up Syria. And just that little vignette in that movie, it's like, is that what it's really like? Do Putin and Xi or Trump, when they sit down, is it really all of the political noise that we hear? Or does it really just boil down to Trump goes, the Western Hemisphere is ours. Do what you want over there. Is that really what it boils down to? Does the United States care what's happening to the Uyghur Muslims or the Falun Gong? Do we care at all? You see what I'm saying? Or are we just going to go, listen, we get Venezuela, we get the Panama Canal. I don't give a crap what you do with the Strait of Hormuz. Our only thing is Iran can't have a nuke.
I don't know, but for example, I never even heard of the Uyghur Muslims until I was on this podcast. So the fact that I've never heard of them before means that we have no policy for them. So I don't know.
Well, we do. Our State Department's declared it a genocide, but we just buy way too much stuff from China.
But we don't do anything
about it. Yeah.
Yes. So.
And I'm not 100% certain we have an obligation to do anything other than financial sanctions about genocide, because otherwise you run around the world chasing dragons, literally.
Yeah.
I remember when we got involved in Iraq, I was like, so is Zimbabwe next? Because Robert Mugabe's just as bad as Saddam Hussein. Right. Nope, didn't do anything about Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. So this is Ambassador Jameson Greer. He's the United States trade representative, and he rattles off again. Donald Trump, in those 4 years in the wilderness, was able to figure out what kind of trade deals, the levers and the sticks, the carrots and the sticks that were necessary to really bolster America, bring jobs home, re-dollarize the economy. All this stuff is what he was able to do. And we've actually reached quite the tipping point where America is selling again and manufacturing.
We spent the past year obviously using tariffs to protect American production, and that gets a lot of the news. But a little bit of the untold story are these deals. We've had dozens of countries come to us and pledge to lower their tariffs and non-tariff barriers to U.S. exports. And a lot of them have already done that, dropping those tariffs. Just a couple of examples. The United States exports of corn went up by 25% last year, right? That's a huge amount. And if you look at January, February, and March of this year, U.S. exports were over $300 billion in each month. Those are the highest figures in 250 years of American history, each month beating the record of the previous one. This doesn't happen organically. This is something that comes from all the deals that President Trump has been striking. So we're seeing the Americans who build stuff, who grow stuff, who make stuff, they're not only serving the American market now, they're getting more overseas, and that means more jobs here. And so we spent the past year...
That is huge deals. More exports, 300 billion, than in our 250-year history. Whew. That is a big, big deal. Every business owner will tell you, it's the office line. Do you have any new territory, any new leads, any new people. Like, this market's burnt out. Everybody knows about our product. And if they're going to buy it, they've bought it. We need new areas. So that is huge. And it went through the list of countries that have dropped their trade barriers. So now we can sell a Chevy in Indonesia or Singapore or wherever it was. Whereas before we couldn't. So, you know, they were shoving them down our throats, and then we took cheap Toyotas from Japan or whatever, and they competed. Well, now we can actually go compete with these other car markets and corn and all these other things in other markets. And having that much in exports is a big, big deal. It also means they typically have to have the dollar to buy it from us, which increases the value of the dollar, which, you know, is a good thing. You know, hardcore Bitcoiners, they just assume watch the dollar catch on fire, but I'd like to maintain the value of the dollar to some degree. Now, we talked about Keir Starmer yesterday potentially resigning from office. Well, it turns out he didn't want to resign, but he gave a very low energy speech saying, I'm sticking around, and now I've got to take responsibility and do the hard job of earning back the trust of the people.
Okay.
But he did go out of his way to blame the loss of all the labor seats at the councils around the country. He did point the finger at somebody.
The election results last week were tough. Very tough. We lost some brilliant Labour representatives. That hurt. And it should hurt. I get it. I feel it. And I take responsibility. But it's not just about taking responsibility for the results. It's about taking responsibility to explain how, as a political and electoral force, we will be better and do better in the months and years ahead. Because
he's about to tell us how they lost all these seats.
Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. He's about to explain how they lost all these seats. Get ready. This is a whopper.
We are not just facing dangerous times, but dangerous opponent. Very dangerous opponent. This hurts not just because Labour has done badly, but because if we don't get this right, our country will go down a very dark path. So just as I take responsibility for the result, I also take responsibility for delivering the change that we promised, for a stronger and fairer Britain that we must build. I take responsibility for navigating us through a world that is more dangerous than at any time in my life. And I take responsibility for not walking away, not plunging our country into chaos as the Tories did time and again, chaos that did lasting damage to this country. A Labour government would never be forgiven for inflicting that on our country again.
In the longer speech, in the full speech, he blames the far-right extremists, misinformation, disinformation. And my response to Jen on the Peasants Pod living room, which, by the way, a lot of you guys that are regular chatters on here, you need to get in on the living room. So you need to reach out to me on Telegram, and I'll add you on the living room. So reach out to me. I can add you on the living room. So anyways, he blames basically the far right, or the right wingers, and they're dangerous. This will take us down a very dark path. We might actually have law and order. We might actually help defend America as they have defended us for years and years. Like, there's so many things that would just be dark and horrible for the communists to ever have to do. So he takes full responsibility, right, for the knife attacks in Britain, for the unchecked immigration of immigrants into Britain, to the fact that there's Sharia law courts in Britain. Here's the response. They're going to double down on censorship. They're going to double down on censorship. They're going to try to silence their opposition because clearly they cannot win in the marketplace of ideas. Another person who can't win in the marketplace of ideas, who shares, again, it's not that Keir Starmer and Karen Bass have ever talked or have anything in common between the two of them, but they both share the same fundamental ideology. It's this collectivist ideology. It's this idea that you can enforce fairness. It's this idea that the rich should pay for the poor, which ultimately results in everybody paying the elite bureaucrats and politicians, right? And the money never really comes back to benefit people.
No,
Yesterday I spoke at the Republican Women's Club, and I'm just so not impressed with politicians, like, at all.
Yeah.
I've just been very unimpressed by most of the ones I've met.
Well, they let you down all the time.
Yeah, and here's this guy running for Republican Party, and he's talking about spending money on social services and pre-K, paying for pre-K education. And I'm
Just cancel all that.
yeah, well, you don't want to cancel it because the low income. I'm like, why are they low income?
Yeah.
I'm like, it never goes to the root cause. It's always Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid.
Exactly.
Anyways, it just made me, I still donated $20 to the guy. He's better than his opposition. But either way, I'm just like, you've got to go to takebackmycounty.com. I've been saying takebackyourcounty.com. Turns out that's not the correct website. It's takebackmycounty.com. And you need to sign up to be a part of the political action organization that's going to do that. We are going to take our counties back. And also you can go to politicalremodel.com and download the manuscript so you can get on board with the plan. We are really starting to push this. We're doing the deal like with the bamboo, where you plant the seeds and the shoots grow and the roots grow, and then when it takes off, it's going to take off like a rocket. That's what's happening right now. We're kind of building that foundation so that when we go with it, we go hot and heavy and hard. So takebackmycounty.com, go check it out, as well as politicalremodel.com. Both are necessary because without it, we are going to get more and more of this. So obviously, one of the big news stories last year was the Palisades fire in California. Totally devastated LA, Hollywood, that whole area, tons of stuff being burnt down. I mean, it was just a horrible, horrible fire. And there's all kinds of suspicions that Karen Bass maybe knew it was coming. She warned that one guy about the winds. The guy's like, no, we had a phone call talking about fire and winds days before she went on her trip to Africa. Why the mayor of LA had to go on a trip to Africa, we may never know. It's kind of like, why would she have to go get training in Cuba? I don't know. Why? We'll never know. We're just going to have to assume that she wasn't a good jungle fighter and decided to become a political street fighter. Well, she was asked in this interview, when are we finally going to allow people to build back? Ron, how long has it been? A year? It's been almost a year now since those fires.
It's been over a year.
Yeah, and we still haven't started the process of building back. So he goes, well, like, how long until we can?
So what's a realistic time frame for people to actually start rebuilding and actually get home?
Well, I'm hoping that the rebuilding and the planning process can actually start now. But that's going to be individuals. Mm-hmm. People are in a variety of different circumstances. We have seniors who might have paid off their mortgage years ago and are living on, fixed incomes. We have people that want to rebuild exactly as they built before. Other people who might want to make changes, which then the process would be a little longer for. Mm-hmm. So what I understand is 3 years would probably be the fastest, but probably it would be more like 5. So it really depends on the individual circumstances.
So what's a realistic time frame?
You want to work at Kitsap County? You would fit right in.
Dude, it's been over a year. Half of the city should have been rebuilt by now.
Oh, 3 or 5.
But starting
whatever.
we can start. We can start to take applications.
No. She said we can start the planning.
The planning now.
That's just thinking about it.
And realistically, 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So you're going to be out of your house for 6 years?
Right.
Before you can rebuild?
We're going to be dead before then.
Dude, some
this
people who are older, own their house free and clear on a fixed income. They can't afford to rebuild. Was that because you had insurance getting canceled?
Right.
Was that part of the whole policies that made it so insurance companies are like, peace, we're out?
Right.
So the people who paid off their house, did the whole thing, saved their equity in their home, got their insurance canceled because of your dumb policy decisions.
Uh-huh.
And so they'll never build back is what you're saying.
Yes.
And if you just want to build back as is, 3 years, if you want to actually build back something different than what you had, have an extra bedroom or a closet somewhere differently or different architectural style.
Yeah.
Well, 5 years more.
Good job evicting the entire neighborhood. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, the number one buyer are a New Zealand shell company with Chinese money. because we need a real Chinese mayor of LA, even just like Acadia up there.
That's right.
So spend that one however you want to do it. Now, Spencer Pratt, who's running for mayor over there, he's just like, listen, I'm not a politician.
I keep trying to tell everyone that, they try to put me in a box. I didn't run to be a political party. I didn't run to be a politician. I ran because I experienced what city leadership failure at the ultimate level is. That's why I stepped up. That's what cuts through. So the media and everyone wants to jump on and be like, oh, Spencer's our guy. No, I'm the citizen. I'm the angry taxpayer. You can be a Democrat and love me. You can be a Republican and love me. The only people that don't love me are communists and socialists, and I don't want them to love me. I keep trying to.
And that's all there is to it. If you hate communists and Democrats, we're going to get along. Or excuse me, communists and socialists who go by the name Democrat, we're going to get along just fine. Right? We're going to get along just fine. I can deal with John Fetterman all day long. Right? We're just angry. We're just frustrated at the fact that it takes forever to build. Ron, what do we got? Rumble Wallet?
Oh, we got some Rumble Wallet. Ooh. I sure hope so. Here we go. Yes. Quick question. How much control do you actually have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen, and it isn't hype. It's just where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think. That's where Rumble Wallet comes in. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, even own digital gold backed by real gold all in one place. Setup is simple. It connects with MoonPay. So you just use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. It's not about the amount. It's about getting in early and understanding what's coming next. And once you're set up, you can even tip your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Pew.
Awesome. Rumble Wallet. I'm obviously a big fan of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, but specifically Bitcoin. It's really great. Okay. So like I said, Donald Trump is moving hardcore on a lot of different issues. And there were some pretty significant things that happened over the last, 30 years. But really, when the census happened, there was a critical small little thing that the Supreme Court passed on based on some procedural issues, not necessarily on the merits of the case, which really cost the Republicans hard. This is the Heritage Foundation. This is, what's her name? Of course, I don't have a name here, but she's speaking at the Heritage Foundation about the census and how it affects the districting around the country.
In Trump's first term, he sought to have the citizenship question re-added to the census. Of course, the left sued. It went up to the Supreme Court, and the court tossed it more on procedural grounds rather than substantive grounds. So we did not have the citizenship question on the census in 2020. And the Census Bureau admitted that they had errors in 2020, and oops, most of them benefited blue states. So President Trump, I think, is trying to push on multiple fronts. He's trying to get, citizenship put back into it. There's talk of doing a new census instead of waiting for 2030. There are efforts that states could do in terms of doing their own census to at least give a more accurate picture of head count and breakdown of citizens versus non-citizens and the goodness that comes from that in terms of election integrity. The Save America Act is an important part of it because it's two parts. One is when you register to vote, you have to prove you're a U.S. citizen. And then on top of that, when you go to vote, then you have to show your ID. We need that first part because so many states will issue driver's licenses to illegal aliens and other non-citizens. And so proving that citizenship is an important part of the election integrity.
Yeah. It seems so obvious, doesn't it, Ron?
Yeah, sure does.
It seems so obvious. But it was, I have their name in my head. Wilbur Ross was in charge of the last census, and he just totally backed down, man. He just completely backed down. He backed down to the big ag who didn't want illegal aliens to be chased around. We need the farmers and the almond pickers and the strawberry pickers. And so Wilbur Ross essentially, the allegation is kind of that he rigged it a little bit so that the Supreme Court wouldn't decide on it. and just basically allowed the census to go on and just count every able-bodied person rather than counting U.S. citizens, or at least segregating the count.
I think it'd be interesting to do a census out of the schedule, and then that way there would be a record of, hey, why did this year it didn't go the normal, schedule? And then people would go, oh, let's check out the footnote. Oh.
Could you imagine a census that came back and told us what
that we shrank?
Goville, the former Border Patrol chief, said, that he said there's 100 million illegal aliens in the country?
Yeah.
Could you imagine a census that gave those results?
I could.
I mean, we talk about 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. It gets pretty astronomical. Imagine if it's a third of the country is not a U.S. citizen.
That's why I think it would be interesting to have a census, done now, and then have that footnote, and then you could go into the footnote and go, well, let's see what's going on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Every time Ron talks, he forgets to change the camera over to him, and then I just sit here.
You just say, yeah. That's
a bobbing head. Yeah. It'd be pretty interesting. When we read that 100 million people is what his estimate was.
Yeah.
That's jaw dropping. First of all, do we have 350 million people here, or do we have 450 million people?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's the same question for like China. Do they really have 1.4 billion,
or do they have 500 million?
Right. We don't know. We're playing in a weird sandbox.
Now, they have proven through satellite imagery and things like that, when they go to build dams in the Caucasus and stuff, that the rural population was much larger than they ever anticipated.
Yeah.
It's just hard to go count out in the sticks.
Well,
right?
And then you get into the cities, and some of those cities are just ghost towns. So there's nobody even there.
Yeah. You'd think it would be easy to count how many people are using a cell phone right now.
Right.
You think that you could almost do the census
with
AI in like 8 minutes.
How many pings?
Yeah. How many pings? How many pings are there out there? Okay. So the other thing too is obviously over in Virginia, the Supreme Court in Virginia. Did you leave it on you? So that
no, I was just thinking that was a really bad unintended racial joke.
Pings. You're horrible, Ron.
I know, but we used to have Mr. Ping here in town, and Mr. Ping was the best. Ping golf.
Oh yeah. So in Virginia, the Democrats tried to ram through a redistricting that would have changed the legislature, or the voting delegation to DC 9-1. And the Virginia Supreme Court overturned that based on the fact that they violated multiple levels of the Constitution in order to even get it on the ballot. And they have also affirmed that they're not going to allow, basically it reverts back to the old map. So it's a more fair and balanced map. Prior to the Democrats playing around with that, the Virginia districting was done by a bipartisan commission. Excuse me.
Take it off.
And it was considered the gold standard of districting, of congressional maps. And so after this happened, Hakeem Jeffries had a conference call with different people in Virginia, and this conference call got leaked. They are scheming to set an age limit of 53 years old for the Virginia Supreme Court. The youngest Supreme Court justice, by the way, is 53 years old. To completely wipe them out and replace all of them in one shot. They're going to set an age limit of 53 years old. How old are you, Ron?
I'd rather not say, but I
too old to be on the Virginia Supreme Court?
I think I might be. What the hell?
53 years old.
I feel like I'm in my prime.
If you don't think communists and socialists and progressives and leftist liberals and Democrats at large do not hate you and hate our Constitution and hate the quote unquote norms and the laws, they will do anything they can within their political capacity. And I'm talking power, within their power, to screw you over to keep their own power for whatever purpose they want.
A leaked account of a call between Virginia House members and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Here's a part of it. Quote, the most dramatic idea they discussed, which would involve an unusual gambit to replace the entire state Supreme Court, with a goal of reinstating their gerrymandered map drew mixed reactions on the call. Oh boy, that leaked? So they can't even all agree on this. The desperate move. 7 justices sit on Virginia Supreme Court with staggered terms stretching years into the future. Lowering the retirement age would force vacancies, opening the door to refill the bench. The headline for Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley's op-ed is this: Angry left plots to purge Virginia's high court. He was on Fox last hour.
These radical ideas are nothing new, but I think the public needs to understand that many of these same voices have been saying publicly that they will pack the Supreme Court as well. As soon as
Republicans really got to pull their head out of their butts and realize that the left counts on you having your virtue weaponized. They count on you bending over and taking it. They count on you saying Joe Biden was elected. It's one thing, at least the middle ground thing is, well, his election was certified, like, you know, it's dubious. But the idea that he won the election, he won, right? He won. Like, the left wants to weaponize the virtue of conservatives and Republicans into just bending over and taking it by the norms and forcing you to play by the rules that they themselves refuse to play by. Ari Schaefer, who was a Democrat, I think he was Bill Clinton's press secretary at some point, weighs in on this. And he's like, the difference between Democrats and Republicans is Republicans take it like nice little boys and try to play by the rules to fix things.
Complicated, nor should there be anything controversial about this. But the bigger issue here, too, is Republicans for decades lived with federal Supreme Court rulings that they didn't like. Roe v. Wade, the Warren Court, measures on crime that made it easier to protect criminals than to protect victims of crime. And Republicans said we need to jerry-rig the Supreme Court. They didn't go out and say we need to expand or pack the Supreme Court. They worked within the system to change the way things worked. That's what you have to do here. The Democrats, in their now attempts to erase the existence of a Virginia Supreme Court, show that they refuse to work within the system.
Yeah.
Republicans proved we will listen to a court ruling. Democrats are showing they won't.
And that's what it boils down to. Even when it's not in our favor, we go, okay, buckle up. Let's go grassroots. Let's get it going. And then, you know, what's the definition of insanity? It's conservatism. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Because why? The Democrats will not play by the rules. They'll change the rules. They'll open investigations and then not tell you about it until they sidle up to you at some bar and go, wouldn't it be inconvenient if the world knew about XYZ?
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, wink. You know, the Democrats will literally get behind a communist mayor in California and be like, well, you know, what's good for China is good for me. Okay. We've got to wake up. We've got to wake up, because when it boils down to it, Sydney Sweeney in one of her shows called it best. Okay. She called it best.
Like, if a man today were to say that he wants a girlfriend that can cook or clean, he might as well be screaming the N-word. Okay.
Well, you sound like a Democrat.
I'm not retarded.
Because Democrats, if a man just wants a normal wife, it might as well be the N-word. Hey, you sound like a Democrat. Yeah, not a retard. We're not retards here, folks. Okay, it's time for us to jump over into private. We're going to be talking a little bit about local news. Seattle dealing with Katie Wilson. So we're talking about Katie Wilson and how their Seattle policies are really running businesses out of Seattle, not even necessarily out of King County. Their businesses just jumping the lake over to Bellevue. You know, it's like that bad in Seattle. They got other options over there, even within the county. So we will talk to the rest of you guys again tomorrow. Don't forget to go to politicalremodel.com, takebackmycounty.com. Also, go over to 1776live.us if you haven't registered already to go join us for our Ignite presentation on Thursday night at 4:30 p.m. We'd greatly appreciate it. You've got some links down in the show notes. Don't forget to click on those, specifically River. Every time you sign up for River and make a buy, you get a referral fee from us. I found that out. It's not us that gets paid. We get paid the same. So when you use River to buy your Bitcoin, we both get a referral for it.
Sweet.
So definitely go use River. You get some free Bitcoin out of the deal. All right, guys, we will talk to you again tomorrow, and some of you will see you over in private.